1 degree outside, Weather Network. This is your early week essentials. We got a lot of weather still on the way. Coming off a holiday weekend. Hope you had a great Independence Day. Look, we were very busy pushing out notifications. What we can do is really kind of target geographic areas and only notify you about things that really impact you. And we did that a lot using our app this weekend. We know digital is where it's at. And so everything we do kind of focuses around that. So we were able to push notify to the beaches when the thunderstorms were coming in. We were able to do the same thing for boaters. We had a storm with a possible water spout just east of Block Island, headed out toward the waters south of Martha's Vineyard. We pushed notified to boaters out there that were offshore. So no matter where you go in New England, we can have you covered. We've been doing that really actively, but you have to have the app, of course, and you have to have location and notifications turned on and allowed on the phone, right? So just downloaded the number 1 degree outside on the App Store and Google Play. Heading into this evening and tonight, no big deal for many of us, but the rain's going to start up in southern New England, and this is the beginning of what's going to end up rolling out to be really exceptional rain for some, which will be a flooding rain event. Hard to believe. We've been in drought. We've been very dry. So the question is, are we really going to be able to get flooding going? In some spots, we will. And I'll get to that here in just a minute. If you just want the nuts and bolts in the forecast, tonight's temperatures dropping down to about 60 or 65. We do have more comfortable air that's in place. And during the course of the day tomorrow, actually, you don't get much beyond about 70, 75 in a lot of central and southern New England. The farther north you go into the North Country, we get some more in the way of sunshine, and we're drier. And that means our temperatures can get up over 80 degrees. But for most of us in the southern half of New England, you don't get very warm for tomorrow. In fact, you get an easterly wind that comes in off the ocean. Chance of rain during the course of Monday, building in southern New England. During the course of Tuesday, nearly guaranteed for most of southern New England, extending to the north as well, and then getting out by the time we get to Wednesday. That's your day of improvement. If you're on vacation this week, look, it's a rough start. You're going to have some patience with the weather. And if you had those kind of rainy day vacation ideas lined up, you may want to end up using them on Monday, Tuesday, depending again on where you are. The farther north you are, the more removed from that you are. But here's the setup. You got an area of low pressure coming into the Great Lakes. You got another one that's down to the south and west, and a whole bunch of moisture in between. We are going to set up and establish a flow out of the Gulf, and that is going to come right over the Gulf Stream. So now you've got two moisture sources, Gulf of America, Gulf Stream, both pointed up into southern New England. At the same time, you've got high pressure in Canada trying to muscle down some less humid, cooler, drier air. So what happens? You get a clash. And that clash is exactly what sets up rain. We've already got flash flood warnings out in Pennsylvania as of Sunday evening, Sunday night. We expect to find that kind of rain spreading east over time. It begins for our Sunday night into Monday across Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Mass. During the course of Monday, it does expand northward. Showers come into northern Mass, steady rain near and south of the Massachusetts Turnpike. Monday evening, heavy rain continues. In fact, downpours during the course of overnight Monday night. The showers extending up all the way to southern Maine, portions of central and southern New Hampshire by Tuesday morning. And that's why I say during the day Tuesday, the chance of rain is actually higher for a greater portion of the region. But your heaviest rain comes in later Monday evening and night when you get across the South Coast in particular. This does move along, and we look at improving conditions for Wednesday and probably Thursday as well, with the next round of scattered thunderstorms coming in for the end of the week along about Friday. There's a lot more to talk about with regard to the rain, though, and I tended to save it for a little bit later in the video because sometimes folks like to just get the overview and dip out. But if you like to hear more about kind of what's at stake here, take a look at this. This is an kind of overall most likely precipitation forecast that runs us out through Tuesday afternoon. Most likely on the order of 3 to 4 inches of rain across far southern portions of New England, with the amounts getting lighter the farther north you go. Just to put this in perspective, it's been dry lately. We can get on the order of about 3 to 5 inches of rain over a 6 and 12-hour period without getting flash flooding. Here's the problem. The problem is, if you really break this down, what's happening is the most likely amounts that I give you, those 3 and 4 inch amounts, right? That's an overall average, because the truth is that we don't know at this point exactly where the highest localized amounts will be. But take a look. This is one possible scenario. And for those of you really into weather, this is the European guidance, which is the, kind of it's hitting hard where the heavy rains would be. And we like one thing about it in terms of liking the overall look of it, meaning a forecast we think is probably somewhat in line with reality, which is it tends to be a little bit more focused east with the heaviest rain. So a lot of the guidance has been putting the heaviest rain over Connecticut. That is absolutely a possibility. It's going to rain hard in Connecticut no matter what. And you can see even in Groton, New London, you may be able to exceed 6 inches of rain. But It may very well be across portions of Buzzards Bay, Narragansett Bay, southern Rhode Island, perhaps into parts of the south coast of Mass that gets the focus of heaviest rain, where, again, in that particular solution, you saw over 7 inches of rain, right? Now, not saying that it's going to happen in that spot, but that's what's at stake here. There are some really high rain amounts that are going to come into play, again, particularly in that Monday evening, Monday night time frame. So the flash flood potential on Monday is going to be highest, yes, across southern Connecticut down through New York and Pennsylvania. You say, well, what about the area I just showed you? That would be as we get into Monday night, right? And then probably into the first part of Tuesday morning. And then the chances get much lower the farther north that you go. Why do we have this scattered potential flash flooding when you get around the Pioneer Valley, Worcester, running into Boston, right? You're not into the heaviest of the rain. Two things: a little bit of uncertainty as to whether or not some of that rain will spread farther north. That is a possibility. If the high pressure gives way in Canada just a little bit more, then you take that axis and you pull it north. The other thing is we are going to see some embedded downpours that will just sit in one spot. And it's almost impossible at this stage of the game to say exactly where those are going to be. Sometimes that's a matter of hours, and it goes back to those kind of geo-targeted push notifications that we can give you. So at least you have a heads up as we start to set up some of that heavier rain. Also, just so you know, our in-house prediction system is putting out widespread gusts on the Cape of 40 to 45 miles per hour as we get into the pre-dawn Tuesday into Tuesday morning. We think that there is some real kind of potential to that because of the fact that you are sandwiched between high pressure in Canada and a storm center to the south. So a lot of times that difference in barometric pressure will drive the gusts. I'm not sure that we get 40 plus gusts to Boston. It's possible. But the idea here is that with leaves on the trees and a lot of rain coming down, softening the ground, that does raise the potential that Monday night in particular, you may start to find a couple of power outages showing up on the Cape, in Rhode Island, in southeastern Connecticut, where you have that kind of coupling of rain making the ground soft and the wind picking up as well. Obviously, wind picking up and coming out of the east is going to mean that we're going to churn the seas, right? Not so much on Monday, but by the time we get to Tuesday, the waves certainly build. Just so you know, I know a lot of you are going to be at the beaches and saying, this is my vacation week. I'm going to get it come heck or high water. I want to get out to the beach. Monday and Tuesday aren't great. Wednesday, when the weather improves, and it will. Wednesday, when the weather improves, just keep in mind, there is going to be a rip current. We have some exclusive rip current forecasting products that we use for Hampton Beach State Park, and it really applies to all the beaches along the east-facing coast of New England. And we are seeing what will end up being an increased rip current risk on Wednesday and Thursday, something to keep in mind for the kiddos, right? And just make sure that you're close to them and close by. And of course, listen to whatever it is that the lifeguards have to say at each of the beaches, because they each respond a little bit differently depending on the setup with the waves. Just a reminder, too, that with all this, we will be updating our streaming network. It is going 24/7 on your smart TV. Open up the YouTube app and search for 1 Degree Outside Network online at 1degreeoutside.live or in our app. It's linked right at the top of the home screen. You say, how do you keep all this going? You're independently owned. There's no corporate ownership. There's no investor money involved here. We do it with your support. Folks who will say, this is a good product, I want to support it. We appreciate every one of you. Membership.onedegreeoutside.com. That's how it looks for now. We will, of course, keep you posted over the course of the next few days. There'll be plenty to look at. And again, those push notifications on the app, that is invaluable. So make sure you got it. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this 1 Degree Outside video.
Get exclusive content, support the mission at membership.onedegreeoutside.com. And don't forget, free and 5 stars on the App Store and Google Play. Search the #1 Degree Outside Weather.